Ambassador Elena Vasquez walked through the long hallway toward the council chambers. Her black shoes clicked on the crystal floor. Each step echoed in the empty space. She carried a small datapad in her hands. On it was humanity's final offer of peace. The Galactic Council building on Nexus Prime was huge. It stretched up toward the purple sky like a mountain made of glass and metal. Alien ships flew around it like insects. Elena had been here many times before. Each time she had hoped things would be different. Today she knew they would not be. She thought about her home on Earth. Green fields under a blue sky. Children playing in parks. Old people sitting on benches feeding birds. All of it was so far away now. Light years of cold space separated her from everything she loved. The chamber doors opened with a soft hiss. Inside, the 7 leaders of the hegemony sat on their high chairs. Each one looked down at her like she was something small and dirty. The Vorthak leader's crystal body glowed with cold light. The Zelani queen clicked her sharp teeth together. The others just stared. Elena had done this dance before, 30 years of it. She was tired of being polite to creatures who saw humans as animals, but she would try one more time. She had to, honored council, she began. Her voice was steady and calm. I come before you today with Earth's final request for membership in this great alliance. The Vorthak leader, Crystalline Prime Zethkar, made a sound like breaking glass. It was their way of laughing. The humans speak of membership again. How amusing. Elena continued as if he had not spoken. For 30 years, humanity has tried to prove our worth. We have shared our technology. We have helped your colonies. We have asked for nothing but a chance to belong. Belong? The Zelani queen's voice was like the buzz of angry insects. You are children playing with fire. Your species is barely out of its caves. Elena felt anger rise in her chest. She pushed it down. Not yet. Not here. We built the quantum tunnels that connect your trade routes, she said. We created the medical treatments that saved millions of your people. We offered friendship to every species we met. And what has it gotten you? Asked Prime Zethkar. His crystal form flickered with different colors. Your colonies burn. Your ships are hunted for sport. Your people cry for help that never comes. Elena thought of New Geneva. The colony had been home to 2 million humans. Families, teachers, farmers, artists, all of them just trying to live their lives in peace. The hegemony fleet had arrived without warning. They said the humans were building weapons. It was a lie. New Geneva had not even had a military base. The orbital bombardment lasted 6 hours. When it was over, nothing lived on the planet's surface. 2 million people became dust and ash. The hegemony called it a police action. We have followed every law, Elena said. We have paid every tax. We have answered every call for help. What more do you want from us? Want? The Zelani queen leaned forward. Her black eyes glittered with malice. We want you to know your place. You are servants, tools to be used when needed. Nothing more. Elena looked around the chamber. 43 species were represented here. 43 different forms of life, all united in one thing. Their hatred of humanity. Some hid it better than others. But she could see it in their eyes. Fear mixed with disgust. She understood now why they hated humans so much. Humanity was young. In galactic terms, they had just learned to walk between the stars. But in those few short decades, they had accomplished more than some species did in thousands of years. They learned faster. They adapted quicker. They solved problems that had puzzled the galaxy for ages. The older species saw this and were afraid. Afraid that these young humans would surpass them, so they worked to keep humanity down, to break their spirit before they became too strong. I have one final offer, Elena said. She held up the datapad. Complete technological exchange. Open borders. Full integration of our forces. Humanity wants to be part of this galaxy's future. Prime Zethkar made that glass-breaking laugh again. The humans still do not understand. There is no place for you here. You exist because we allow it. You will end because we demand it. The other council members nodded or made their species versions of agreement. Elena saw the Thaxan representative flex his claws. The Mordian delegate's tentacles writhed with pleasure. They were enjoying this. Elena felt something break inside her chest, not her heart. That had broken years ago when she first realized what the hegemony really was. This was something deeper. It was the last bit of hope she had carried for her species. She looked down at the datapad in her hands. On it were the plans for faster-than-light communication, medical techniques that could extend life by centuries, energy sources that could power entire star systems. Humanity's greatest discoveries offered freely to those who would accept them as equals. She deleted the files with a touch of her finger. "I see," she said quietly. "Then let me give you a different message." Elena looked up at the council. Her eyes were different now. The diplomat's careful politeness was gone. What remained was something older, something that had built pyramids and split atoms and reached for the stars despite every obstacle. "For 30 years I have stood in this chamber and begged for peace. I have offered gifts and friendship and love. You have answered with contempt and cruelty and murder." The chamber grew quiet. Even the hegemony leaders seemed to sense that something had changed. "We came to you with open hands," Elena continued. Her voice was steady but cold. "We offered our knowledge, our friendship, our very souls to be part of something greater. You have rejected us at every turn. You have enslaved our people and burned our worlds." Prime Zethkar started to speak, but Elena held up her hand. To everyone's surprise, he stopped. "This is our final message as supplicants," she said. "We will not beg anymore. We will not kneel. We will not ask for permission to exist." Elena turned and walked toward the chamber doors. They opened before her as if the building itself wanted her gone. "Where do you think you are going, human?" called the Zelani queen. "We are not finished with you." Elena stopped in the doorway. She did not turn around. "Yes, you are," she said. "We tried peace. We offered love. You chose war." She paused. "Now you will see what humanity looks like when we stop pretending to be civilized." The doors closed behind her with a soft hiss. Elena walked back down the long hallway. Her footsteps echoed in the empty space. But she was not alone now. In her earpiece, she heard a familiar voice. "Ambassador," said Admiral Sarah Kozlov from Earth. "Are the negotiations complete?" "Yes," Elena replied. "Send the recall order to all human ships and stations. Bring everyone home." "And after that?" Elena smiled for the first time in months. It was not a pleasant smile. "After that, we stopped being nice." Dr. Marcus Chen watched his alien colleagues work in the research lab. For 5 years, he had been part of their team on the space station orbiting Kepler 442b. They had been studying the planet's unique quantum crystals together. Today was his last day. "Marcus, you cannot be serious about this," said Dr. Vexhai, the Thaxan scientist. His reptilian features showed genuine confusion. "The research is just beginning to show results." Marcus packed his personal items into a small bag. His hands moved slowly, carefully. He had been ordered to take nothing that might be considered technology. Even his coffee mug had a small computer chip in it. That had to stay. "I am serious," Marcus said. "All humans are being recalled." "No exceptions, but why?" asked Dr. Meltara, the Mordian researcher. Her tentacles twitched with anxiety. "What has changed?" "We work well together." Marcus looked at his alien friends. They were good people. Good scientists. They had never treated him badly because he was human. But they were not the ones making decisions in this galaxy. "Nothing has changed," Marcus said quietly. "That is the problem." 3 days earlier, the message had come through on the emergency human-only channel. All humans in neutral or alien space were to return to human territory immediately. No questions asked. No delays allowed. The message came with Admiral Kozlov's personal authorization code. Marcus had worked with aliens for years. He knew they were not all bad, but he also knew what the hegemony had done to New Geneva. He had seen the videos that the news networks would not show. Children running from burning buildings. Families trying to reach evacuation ships that never came. The final transmission from the planet had been a little girl asking her daddy when they could go home. "Will you be back?" Dr. Vexhai asked. Marcus stopped packing. He looked at his friend for a long moment. Vexhai had 3 children back on his homeworld. He sent them pictures of his research every week. He was proud of his work and wanted his kids to be proud too. "I do not think so," Marcus said finally. Around the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Human engineers left their projects half-finished. Human traders abandoned their cargo ships in alien ports. Human students walked out of universities in the middle of exams. Human doctors left their alien patients and headed for the nearest transport home. The evacuation was not random or chaotic. It was planned. Every human ship, every human station, every human outpost began the same careful process. Essential equipment was packed. Non-essential items were destroyed. Computer systems were wiped clean. Any technology that might be useful to aliens was either taken or turned to scrap. On Trading Station Omega, Captain Lisa Park oversaw the evacuation of 300 human merchants and their families. The station had been a hub of galactic commerce for 15 years. Human businesses had made it one of the most profitable trading posts in known space. "Captain, the hegemony representatives are demanding to know why we are leaving," reported Lieutenant Hayes. Captain Park looked at the alien delegation waiting in the station's main bay. She recognized Prime Merchant Kolveth of the Vorthak Consortium. He had made billions of credits from human trade deals. Behind him stood a dozen other alien business leaders. They all looked angry and confused. "Tell them it is a routine rotation of personnel," Captain Park said. "They are not buying it, Captain. They want to speak with you directly." Captain Park sighed. She had hoped to avoid this conversation, but orders were orders. She made her way to the main bay. "Prime Merchant Kolveth," she said with a polite nod.
"How can I help you?"
The crystal being flickered with agitated colors. "You can explain why my most profitable partners are abandoning their contracts without notice. All human citizens are being recalled for security briefings." Captain Park lied smoothly. "It is temporary." "Temporary?" Kolveth's voice rang like struck crystal. "You are stripping this station bare. Your people are destroying equipment rather than leaving it behind. This does not look temporary." Captain Park shrugged. "I follow orders, not explanations." As she spoke, human workers continued their tasks behind her. They moved with quiet efficiency. No wasted motion, no unnecessary talk. Everything of value to humanity was being packed. Everything else was being reduced to useless junk. The alien delegation could only watch. According to galactic law, they could not stop humans from leaving with their own property. But they could see this was more than a simple evacuation. This was a complete withdrawal. It was as if humanity was preparing to cut all ties with the rest of the galaxy. On the research station, Dr. Chen finished his packing. He turned to his alien colleagues one last time. "There is something you should know," he said quietly, "about the quantum crystals we have been studying." Dr. Vexhai leaned forward. "What about them?" "We solved the power generation problem 3 months ago," Marcus said. "The crystals can produce unlimited clean energy. We figured out how to make them stable." The alien scientists stared at him. This was the breakthrough they had been working toward for years. It could change everything for their civilizations. "The research notes?" Dr. Meltara asked urgently. Marcus pulled out a small device and pressed a button. Across the station, every computer system that contained human research data went blank. Years of work vanished in seconds. "I am sorry," Marcus said, "but we will not be sharing our discoveries anymore." He picked up his bag and walked toward the exit. Behind him, his former colleagues called out in shock and anger. But Marcus did not look back. The same scene repeated across the galaxy. In research labs and trading posts and diplomatic missions, humans quietly erased their contributions and headed home. The galaxy had grown used to human innovation, human creativity, human solutions to impossible problems. Suddenly, all of that was gone. Within 6 months, the effects became clear. Trade routes that humans had optimized became slow and expensive again. Medical treatments that human doctors had developed were no longer available. Technologies that human engineers had maintained began to break down. The hegemony leadership met an emergency session on Nexus Prime. The chamber, where Elena Vasquez had made her final plea, was now filled with worried voices. "The humans have vanished," reported Intelligence Chief Mordak. "Every ship, every station, every individual. They have retreated to their own space and sealed the borders." "Good," growled the Zalani Queen. "Let them hide. We are better off without their interference." But Prime Zethkar was not so sure. His intelligence network had brought disturbing reports. Massive construction projects in human space, energy signatures that defied explanation, ships being built unlike anything in the galactic databases. "What are they building?" he asked. Mordak's expression was grim. "We do not know. Our spy networks in human space have gone silent. Our surveillance drones are being destroyed before they can gather data. It is as if they have become a completely different civilization overnight." The Zalani Queen laughed. "They are probably building bunkers to hide in. Cowards." But Zethkar remembered Elena Vasquez's final words, the cold certainty in her voice, the way she had smiled as she walked away. "I do not think they are hiding," he said quietly. Across the galaxy, other species began to notice the human absence. The Kepler research station shut down without human expertise. Trading profits dropped by 40% without human business. Medical facilities struggled without human innovations. Dr. Vexhai tried to continue the quantum crystal research alone. But without Marcus Chen's insights, progress stopped completely. The alien scientists realized they had been dependent on human brilliance more than they had ever admitted. We should have treated them better, Dr. Melterra said sadly. Dr. Vexhai nodded. I fear we will regret this. Meanwhile, in human space, Admiral Sarah Kozlov stood in the command center of Earth's orbital defense platform. Around her, screens showed the positions of every human ship and station. The evacuation was complete. Humanity had come home. What are our orders, Admiral? Asked her aide. Kozlov looked at the tactical displays. 3 billion humans across 50 star systems. All of them united now in a way they had never been before. The galaxy had taught them an important lesson. In space, only strength mattered. Begin Phase 2, she said. It is time to show them what humanity can do when we stop being nice. Captain Torville of the hegemony patrol ship Righteous Thunder was having a bad day. His ship had been in hyperspace for 6 hours, traveling from the Mortian colonies to Nexus Prime. It should have been a routine trip. Instead, it had become a nightmare. Captain, we are detecting gravitational anomalies in hyperspace, reported his navigation officer. The computer cannot plot a stable course. Torville stared at the readings on his screen. In 20 years of space travel, he had never seen anything like this. Hyperspace was supposed to be empty, a void between dimensions that ships could use to travel faster than light. But his sensors were showing massive objects moving through the hyperspace around them. Objects? He asked. What kind of objects? Unknown, Captain. They appear to be artificial structures, but they do not match any known ship designs in our database. Through the viewports, Torville could see the strange blue-white glow of hyperspace. But now there were darker patches moving through the light, shadows the size of planets drifting silently past his ship. Try to get a clearer scan, he ordered. The moment his sensors focused on one of the shadows, alarms began screaming throughout the ship. The shadow had noticed them. It was turning toward them, growing larger. Emergency dropped to normal space. Torville shouted. The Righteous Thunder fell out of hyperspace in a burst of twisted light. They emerged in an empty star system, far from any planets or stations. Torville's crew looked shaken. Several of them were checking their instruments as if they did not trust what they had seen. Report, Torville demanded. Hyperspace sensors are offline, said the navigation officer. Whatever those things were, they interfered with our equipment just by being near us. Similar incidents were happening across hegemony space. Ships emerged from hyperspace in the wrong locations. Communication networks suffered mysterious failures. Entire patrol fleets reported contact with unknown vessels, then vanished without sending another message. On Nexus Prime, the Hegemony Council was in emergency session. Intelligence reports flooded in from across their territory. None of it made sense. 17 ships lost in the Kepler sector, reported Intelligence Chief Mordak. 23 more missing in the Vega trade routes. All disappeared without distress calls and pirates? Suggested the Thaxon representative. No, said Mordak grimly. Pirates take prisoners and cargo. These ships simply vanish. No wreckage. No survivors. Nothing. Prime Zethkar studied the star charts on the main display. Red markers showed the locations of missing ships and strange incidents. A pattern was emerging. All of the incidents were happening near the borders of human space. Have we tried to contact Earth? He asked. The Zalani Queen made her insect buzzing laugh. Contact them? Why would we want to speak to those cowards? They ran away with their tails between their legs, but Zethkar was not laughing. His intelligence network had tried to monitor human space for months. Every probe had been destroyed. Every spy had gone silent. It was as if humanity had built a wall around their territory that nothing could penetrate. What are the humans doing? He wondered aloud. As if summoned by his question, the chamber's communication system activated. The holographic display in the center of the room flickered to life. When the image cleared, Elena Vasquez stood before them. But she was different now. Her left arm had been replaced with some kind of mechanical device. Metal ports were visible on her neck and temple. Her eyes glowed with a faint blue light. She looked more machine than human. Honored counsel, she said. Her voice carried a strange harmonic undertone, as if multiple people were speaking at once. The Zalani Queen leaped to her feet. How did you access this chamber? Our security systems, your security systems are toys, Elena interrupted. We built half of them, remember? Along with your communication networks, your navigation computers, and your life support systems. A chill ran through the chamber. The hegemony species had become dependent on human technology over the decades. If humans had hidden access codes in their systems, "What do you want?" Prime Zethkar demanded. Elena smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "I want to deliver a message. You wanted us gone. You wanted us to disappear from your perfect galaxy. Your wish has been granted." "Good," snapped the Zilani Queen. "Stay gone." "Oh, we will," Elena agreed. "But understand this. When we were weak, we sought peace. We offered friendship and cooperation. You answered with contempt and murder." The display around Elena shifted. Images appeared showing the destruction of New Geneva. The burning cities. The fleeing families. The orbital bombardment that had killed 2 million innocent people. "You taught us that the universe respects only strength," Elena continued. "We were excellent students." Prime Zethkar felt something cold settle in his crystal core. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that humanity has learned from your example. We tried to be civilized. We tried to be reasonable. You showed us that such things are weaknesses to be exploited." Elena gestured, and the images changed. Now they showed glimpses of human ships under construction. But these were not the vessels the hegemony remembered. They were massive beyond comprehension, dark, angular, built for war. "We withdraw from galactic civilization completely," Elena announced. "From this moment forward, human space is closed to all alien vessels. Any ship that enters our territory without permission will be destroyed without warning. You cannot close off entire star systems," protested the Thaxan representative. "Those are major trade routes." "Watch us," Elena said simply. The Zilani Queen pointed at the screen with one clawed appendage. "You are making threats you cannot back up. Humanity is one small species. The hegemony controls half the galaxy." Elena's smile grew wider. "Are you certain about that?" New images appeared on the display. Hegemony worlds under observation. Military bases monitored by invisible watchers. Private communications that had been recorded and analyzed. Ships tracked through hyperspace by sensors they could not detect. "For 30 years you believed humans were weak because we asked for peace," Elena said. "You never wondered what we were capable of when we stopped asking nicely." The truth was becoming clear to Prime Zethkar. Every diplomatic mission had been a scouting operation. Every trade agreement had included hidden monitoring devices. Every human who had worked in alien space had been gathering intelligence. Humanity had been preparing for this war since first contact. "The missing ships," he said quietly. "That was you." "Field tests," Elena confirmed. "We needed to make sure our new weapon systems worked properly. Your patrol fleets provided excellent target practice." Across the chamber, alien leaders began to shift nervously. The hegemony military was the most powerful force in known space. The idea that humans could simply make their ships disappear was terrifying. "You would not dare attack us directly," the Zilani Queen said, but her voice lacked its usual confidence. Elena's blue eyes fixed on the Insect Queen. "We destroyed an entire hegemony task force in the Sigma Draconis system yesterday. 47 ships. 2,000 crew members. They never even saw us coming." Alarms began ringing throughout the council chamber. Emergency reports flooded in. The Sigma Draconis fleet had indeed gone silent. Long-range sensors showed only empty space where 47 warships should have been. "This is a trick," protested the Zilani Queen. "Some kind of illusion." "Test us," Elena invited. "Send more fleets. See what happens." Prime Zethkar studied the human diplomat's transformed appearance. The mechanical parts. The glowing eyes. The harmonic voice. This was not the same person who had pleaded for peace 6 months ago. "What have you become?" he asked. "We have become what you forced us to become," Elena replied. "You wanted to see humanity's true face? You wanted to know what we were capable of when pushed too far? Now you know." The display began to fade, but Elena's voice remained strong and clear. "This is our final warning. Stay out of human space. Do not test our patience. Do not assume we are still the peaceful species you once knew." As her image disappeared completely, her last words echoed in the silent chamber. "We tried peace. We offered love. You chose war. Now you will learn why that was a mistake." The chamber fell silent except for the sound of incoming emergency reports, ship disappearances, communication failures, gravitational anomalies that defied physics. Prime Zethkar looked around at his fellow council members. Fear was evident in every alien face. For centuries, the hegemony had been the dominant power in this region of space. They had never imagined that their smallest member species might pose a threat. "What do we do?" asked the Thaxan representative. Zethkar did not answer immediately. He was thinking about Elena Vasquez's transformation, about the ships humanity was building, about the technology they had shared so freely during the peaceful years. If humans could modify themselves into something beyond biological life, what else were they capable of? "Summon the fleet commanders," he said finally. "All of them. We need to prepare for war." But even as he gave the order, Prime Zethkar wondered if they were already too late. In the depths of space, massive human ships moved silently through hyperspace. Their crews were no longer entirely human. They had become something new, something designed for war. The storm was gathering, and the hegemony was about to learn what humanity looked like when it stopped pretending to be civilized. Admiral Kreshtar of the Vorthak Defense Fleet had been a soldier for 300 years. He had fought in dozens of campaigns across the galaxy. He had never been afraid of any enemy. But as he watched his flagship's tactical display, fear crept into his crystal core like ice. "Admiral, the human fleet has just appeared on our sensors," reported his tactical officer. "They are not using hyperspace. They just materialized." Kreshtar studied the display. 40 Vorthak warships hung in space around their homeworld. They were the most advanced vessels in the hegemony fleet. Each one was armed with weapons that could destroy planets. Against them came 12 human ships. But these were unlike anything in the military databases. They were massive, dark, angular. They moved through space without visible engines, leaving no energy signatures that his sensors could identify. "Open communication channels," Kreshtar ordered. Static filled the comm system. Then a voice spoke. It was human, but changed. Multiple harmonics, electronic undertones, as if the speaker was more machine than flesh. "Vorthak Defense Fleet," the voice said. "You are ordered to surrender immediately. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded." Kreshtar's crystal body flared with indignant light. "This is Admiral Kreshtar of the Sovereign Vorthak Dominion. You are in violation of our territorial space. Withdraw immediately or face destruction." Silence answered him. Then the human ships moved. They did not accelerate gradually like normal vessels. One moment they were distant specks. The next moment they were among the Vorthak fleet, moving faster than physics should allow, passing through solid matter as if it were empty space. "Impossible," whispered Kreshtar's navigation officer. "Nothing can phase through our hulls." The lead human ship materialized inside the Vorthak flagship Glorious Purpose. Alarms screamed as the alien vessel occupied the same space as the ship's main hangar. But there was no collision, no explosion. The human ship simply existed inside the Vorthak vessel like a ghost made solid. "How?" Kreshtar demanded. His answer came in the form of troops. Human soldiers began appearing throughout his ship. But they were not the soft flesh creatures the hegemony remembered. These humans wore powered armor that seemed alive. Their faces were hidden behind masks that glowed with blue light. Many showed obvious cybernetic modifications. Some appeared to be more machine than organic. They moved with perfect coordination. No wasted motion. No hesitation. Within minutes, they had secured every critical system on the flagship. Similar operations were happening throughout the fleet. "Resistance is useless," announced the human voice over the comm system. "Your weapons cannot harm our ships. Your shields cannot stop our soldiers. Surrender now and your crews will be spared." Kreshtar watched helplessly as his tactical display showed ship after ship going dark. Not destroyed, simply taken. Human soldiers had somehow appeared inside every vessel simultaneously. "Admiral," called his communications officer, "I am receiving surrender signals from the entire fleet." "All ships?" Kreshtar asked in disbelief. "Yes, sir. 40 vessels captured in 17 minutes. Kreshtar looked around his own bridge. Human soldiers stood at every station, but they had not harmed his crew. They simply waited, patient, ready. "I do not understand," he said to the nearest human. "How did you do this?" The soldier's mask tilted toward him. When it spoke, the voice was calm and emotionless. "We learned to manipulate quantum states. Your ships exist in normal space. Ours exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. We can choose when and where to become solid. The technology was impossible. It violated every known law of physics. But Kreshtar was seeing it with his own eyes. "Why not just destroy us?" he asked. "Because we are not monsters," the human replied. "We do not kill unless we must." "But make no mistake, Admiral. If you had chosen to fight, you would all be dead now." Similar scenes played out across hegemony space. Each member species faced a uniquely tailored form of warfare that exploited their specific weaknesses. The Zilani hive queens relied on psychic links to control their swarms. Human ships appeared in their space, broadcasting jamming signals that severed these connections. Zilani fleets found themselves flying in random directions, unable to coordinate their attacks. The Thaxan war clans prided themselves on their personal combat skills. Human soldiers challenged them to single combat, then revealed that they had been enhanced far beyond biological limits. Thaxan warriors who could tear steel with their bare claws found themselves outmatched by humans who moved like living lightning. The Mordian Collective used advanced AI systems to control their automated fleets. Human hackers infiltrated these networks and turned the Mordian ships against each other. Mordian commanders watched in horror as their own vessels opened fire on their fleetmates. But the most devastating attack came at Vorthak Prime itself. The crystal beings had built their civilization around harmonic resonance. Their buildings, their ships, even their bodies vibrated at specific frequencies. It was the source of their technology and their culture. The human dreadnought Terran Vengeance appeared in orbit around Vorthak Prime like a metal mountain. It was 30 kilometers long and armed with weapons that defied understanding, but it did not open fire with conventional weapons. Instead, it began to sing. The sound started as a low hum that resonated through every crystal structure on the planet. At first, it was merely annoying. Then it grew stronger. The frequency was perfectly calculated to match the natural vibration of Vorthak crystal biology. Buildings began to crack. Vehicles fell apart. The Vorthak people themselves started to resonate uncontrollably. Their crystal bodies vibrated so intensely that they could not move or think clearly. Within hours, the entire Vorthak homeworld was helpless, not destroyed, not killed, simply neutralized by a sound that turned their greatest strength into their greatest weakness. Prime Zethkar lay on the floor of his palace, his crystal form shaking uncontrollably. Through the vibrations, he could hear human voices speaking calmly over the communication systems. "Citizens of Vorthak Prime," the voices said, "your military forces have surrendered. Your government is under human protection. Do not attempt to resist. Any hostile action will result in an increase in the harmonic frequency. You do not want to discover what that will do to your bodies." Zethkar understood now. Humanity had spent 30 years studying every hegemony species. They knew exactly how each one thought, how they fought, what their weaknesses were. This war was not a battle between equals. It was a controlled demolition. The humans had planned every move. The war lasted 3 months. Not because humanity needed that long to win, but because they chose to be thorough. Each hegemony world was conquered in turn. Each fleet was captured or destroyed. Each government was replaced with human military administrators, but the humans were not conquerors in the traditional sense. They did not enslave populations or steal resources. Instead, they established what they called protection zones. Hegemony species were allowed to govern themselves as long as they followed human rules. The rules were simple. No military forces beyond local police. No research into weapons technology. No aggression against other species. Complete cooperation with human oversight. Those who accepted these terms were treated fairly. Those who resisted faced the full weight of human technology. Entire rebel fleets simply vanished from existence. Planets that harbored insurgents found their electronics. Mysteriously failing, Admiral Sarah Kozlov stood in the ruins of the old Galactic Council chamber on Nexus Prime. The IE building had been damaged during the brief battle for the planet. Human engineers were repairing it, but they were making changes. The architecture would still be beautiful, but it would also be practical, functional, human. "Admiral," said her aide, "the Thaxan clan leaders are requesting an audience." Kozlov nodded. "Send them in." The Thaxan delegation entered the chamber with obvious reluctance. These proud warriors had been reduced to petitioners in their own space. Their leader, War Chief Grundan, approached with his head bowed. "Admiral Kozlov," he said formally, "we wish to discuss the terms of our surrender." "You mean the terms of your protection," Kozlov corrected. "You are not prisoners. You are citizens of the new galactic order. Grundan looked up, confusion evident in his reptilian features. We do not understand. You have defeated us completely. Why do you not simply rule us directly? Kozlov walked to the great windows that overlooked the rebuilt city. Human and alien workers labored side by side in the streets below. There was no hatred, no oppression, just the careful order that humans brought to everything they touched. Because we are not you, she said simply. We do not believe in ruling through fear or hatred. We believe in ruling through strength and justice. But the hegemony taught us that the universe respects only power. Kozlov interrupted. So we became powerful, but we did not become cruel. That is the difference between us and you. She turned back to face the Thaxan delegation. You have a choice, War Chief Grundan. You can accept human protection and rebuild your civilization in peace. Or you can continue to resist and face the consequences. Grundan studied the human admiral. She was small compared to his people, fragile-looking. But he had seen what her forces could do. He had watched proud Thaxan warriors brought down by human soldiers who moved like ghosts and struck like lightning. We accept, he said quietly. Good, Kozlov replied. Then let us be. 2 years had passed since the war ended. Admiral Sarah Kozlov walked through the memorial garden on Nexus Prime, where black stone walls bore the names of every human who had died during the hegemony's reign of terror. 2 million names from New Geneva alone, countless others from raids, accidents, and systematic oppression. The garden was quiet this morning. A few alien visitors stood before the walls, reading the names carved in stone. Some left flowers. Others simply stood in silence. They understood now what their leaders had done, what their indifference had cost. Kozlov stopped before a particular section of the wall. Here were the names of the children from New Geneva Elementary School. 437 names. The youngest had been 6 years old. Their only crime was being human. Admiral, said a voice behind her. Kozlov turned to see Elena Vasquez approaching. The former diplomat looked almost human again. Most of her cybernetic modifications had been removed or hidden beneath synthetic skin, but her eyes still held that blue glow. Some changes could not be undone. Elena, Kozlov acknowledged. How did the tribunal go? Prime Zethkar was sentenced to life imprisonment on Alcatraz Station, Elena reported. The Zelani Queen chose exile rather than face trial. The other hegemony leaders are cooperating with the Truth Commission. Kozlov nodded. The trials had been fair. Human justice was not about revenge, but about accountability. Those who had ordered atrocities faced punishment. Those who had simply followed orders were given chances to rebuild their lives. Any resistance? Kozlov asked. Minor incidents in the outer sectors, Elena said. Nothing our peacekeeping forces cannot handle. Most species seem to prefer our rule to the chaos that followed the hegemony's collapse. They walked together toward the center of the garden, where a simple stone monument stood. On it was carved a single line. They tried to make us into monsters. We chose to remain human. Do you think we succeeded? Elena asked quietly. Kozlov considered the question. Around the galaxy, former hegemony worlds were rebuilding under human guidance. Schools taught new curricula that emphasized cooperation instead of competition. Trade flowed freely between species that had been enemies for centuries. Scientific research proceeded without military applications. But it was all enforced by the knowledge that human warships patrolled every star system. That human technology could reach anywhere in known space. That resistance was not just futile, but pointless. We brought peace, Kozlov said finally. Whether we remained human in the process, history will judge. They had established what humans called the Terran Concordat. It was not the democratic alliance that Earth had once dreamed of joining. It was a military administration designed to prevent any species from ever again threatening human existence. The rules were simple and enforced without exception. No military forces beyond what was needed for local security. No research into weapons of mass destruction. No aggression between species. Complete transparency in government and commerce. In return, member species received protection, trade opportunities, and access to human technology. Medical treatments that extended lifespans, energy sources that ended scarcity, transportation systems that connected distant worlds. Most aliens found the trade acceptable. They had lived under the hegemony's boot for so long that human rule felt like freedom by comparison. Humans were strict but fair, demanding but not cruel. They kept their promises and expected others to do the same. The Kepler Research Station is requesting permission to resume quantum crystal studies, Elena said, changing the subject. Approved, Kozlov replied, but under human supervision. Dr. Chen will lead the project. Marcus Chen had returned to alien space, but not as the naive scientist who had once worked alongside alien colleagues. He now wore the uniform of the Terran Science Corps and carried the authority to shut down any research that might threaten galactic stability. His former colleague, Dr. Vexhai, had requested permission to join the project. The Thaxan scientist approached the subject carefully, knowing that their previous friendship could not simply resume where it had left off. Dr. Chen, Vexhai said formally when they met at the research station, "Thank you for allowing me to participate in this project." Marcus looked at his old friend. Vexhai seemed smaller now, subdued. The confident scientist who had once worked as an equal was gone, replaced by someone who understood his place in the new order. "You are a good scientist," Marcus said simply. "Science should not be limited by politics." They worked together in the laboratory, but the dynamic had changed completely. Marcus made the decisions, set the priorities, determined what research was permissible and what was not.
Vexhai followed orders and contributed what he could. "Marcus," Vexhai said during a break in their work.
"May I ask you something personal?" Marcus nodded. "Do you hate us for what the hegemony did?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. He thought about New Geneva, about the children who had died screaming, about 30 years of systematic humiliation and oppression. "No," he said finally. "Hate is what started this cycle. We are trying to end it. But you do not trust us when a trust is earned," Marcus replied. "Your people will have to prove they deserve it." Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. Former enemies learning to work together under human oversight. Old hatreds being set aside in favor of practical cooperation. The Mordian Collective had become one of humanity's most reliable partners. Their tentacled forms could be seen in human shipyards, helping to build the exploration vessels that would carry mixed crews to distant stars. They seemed genuinely grateful to be free of the hegemony's influence, but not everyone accepted the new order willingly. On the former hegemony world of Thax Prime, War Chief Bruthen gathered a group of young warriors in secret. They met in abandoned buildings, speaking in whispers about the old days when their people had been free. "We are warriors," Bruthen growled to his followers. "We should not bow to these soft pink creatures." "But their soldiers defeated our finest fighters," protested one young Thaxan. "How can we resist them?" Bruthen's eyes gleamed with desperate hope. "Because they have grown soft. They think they have won. They have forgotten to watch for threats." The resistance group planned a raid on the Human Administrative Center. They would take hostages, make demands, show the galaxy that the Thaxan spirit could not be broken. They struck at dawn, moving quickly through the city streets. But as they approached the government building, they found their path blocked by a single human figure. It was Major Lisa Park, formerly captain of Trading Station Omega. She wore the dark blue uniform of human peacekeeping forces. She was alone, but she showed no fear. "War Chief Bruthen," she said calmly, "you are under arrest for conspiracy against galactic peace." Bruthen laughed. "One human against 20 Thaxan warriors? You are brave but foolish." "I am not alone," Major Park replied. The Thaxan warriors looked around expecting to see hidden human soldiers. Instead, they saw their own people. Thaxan police officers, Thaxan civilians, former Thaxan military personnel who now served in the Planetary Defense Force. "Bruthen," said one of the police officers, "stand down. This ends now." The war chief stared in shock. "You serve the humans." "We serve peace," the officer replied. "Something you never understood. The resistance was ended without violence." Bruthen and his followers were arrested by their own people and handed over to human authorities. They would face trial, but they would not be executed. Humans did not believe in martyrdom. Admiral Kozlov received the report that evening in her office overlooking the rebuilt council chambers. She was not surprised. There would always be those who preferred the old ways of hatred and violence. "Recommend increased monitoring of Thax Prime," she said to her aide. "Yes, Admiral. Should we implement stricter security measures?" Kozlov shook her head. "No, heavy-handed tactics only create more resistance. Let the Thaxan people police themselves. Most of them want peace more than they want their old pride. She turned to look out the window at the city below. Alien children played in parks while human teachers watched over them. Mixed species couples walked hand in hand through markets selling goods from across the galaxy. Former enemies worked together on construction projects. It was not the galaxy that humanity had dreamed of when they first reached for the stars. But it was better than what had come before. "Admiral," her aide said carefully, "there are some who say we have become everything we once opposed." Kozlov was quiet for a moment. The question haunted her dreams. Had they saved the galaxy or simply conquered it? Were they peacekeepers or tyrants? "Perhaps," she said finally. "But we are tyrants who keep our promises. We are conquerors who build instead of destroy. We are everything the hegemony was not." She touched a control on her desk. The room's speakers activated, broadcasting across the entire star system. Her voice reached every human ship, every alien world, every space station in the sector. "Citizens of the Terran Concordat," she began. 2 years ago, humanity tried one final time to join the galactic community as equals. We were rejected. We were humiliated. We were told that we had no place among the stars. She paused, looking out at the peaceful city below. "Today we rule those stars. Not because we wanted power, but because we wanted peace.